Good day. Thank you, Thales. And so I send greetings to the population of the whole world because I'm sending greeting to everyone because I can't imagine anyone who hasn't needed to look for and find the information. So when you need an information nowadays, where do you find it? It's the internet, and so you get to the social media and platforms where there are various opinions and leaders are sharing opinion, but how reliable it is? This is a complicated question, and we are not going to be solving this here, but we will speak to media you can trust. Those are the creators of local content, Latvian media, the ones who work here in Latvia, and their programs also um, are um, here available, and we will speak about differences in content. And of course, we need to look for roadmaps how to ensure that this media literacy content is created. And so I'm so happy that in this discussion, such a wide range of participants we have, and each of them is very well knowing in relation to the media issues and media literacy. Of course, we will focus on the media literacy. So please let us welcome our guests. And hello, and Una Klapkalna, Chairman of the Board of Latvian Radio. Good day. Also, the Chairman of the Board of Vidzeme Television RTV, Ingemārs Vekters. Hello. The chairman of the board of Divu Krastu Radio, Andrejs Trokša. Hello. And of course, another radio. We have Radio SWH, the creative director, Ilgvars Rukers. Good day to everyone. Happy to see you. And also the commissioning editor of Latvian television, Anna Platvīra. Hello, I'm happy to be with you. So, great. Everybody can hear. Can you see us? Can you hear us? Nod ahead, because this connection moment is very important. Today's conference can be organized without participants in the hall, and it can be disseminated to the whole world, and this is great. And so the first question to you, honorable guests, I would like each of you to answer to this question because if there are people watching us who want to get to know about media literacy more, but they are not aware how it can be reflected in the media. So how you succeed with this in your content with media literacy uh, content in your mass media. So I will ask you within 5 minutes to explain how you have succeeded and what conclusions you have made. And we will start with the public media. So public media is the center of the media ecosystem, and I am very happy that in Latvia the situation has significantly improved, especially in relation to the amount of funding, and also we have taken out the public media out of the advertisement market, so we don't need to fight for each euro from advertising, but we can receive the funding from the state budget and be able to talk to the public. So the Latvian radio, Guna Platkalne, can tell how wide in your programs the media literacy is reflected. Hello again. I will start with a little bit stepping back. When I was preparing for this conference, I used a great opportunity and it was talking to my colleagues. We had a small remote focus group, how we have succeeded with the reflection of media literacy topic. And the first conclusion is that we've been within this topic for a long time, for many years. We have had several um, programs related to this, and also we have had programs lie detectors, and also the youth station in Latvian radio number 5. And I must say that our internal feeling is that this content is good, of high quality, but there are two problems or dilemmas. On the one hand, it is a good and of high quality, but on the other hand, for journalists, it creates a feeling that how we will again speak about ourselves, about the mass media. And then we get this internal problem that there are so many areas where there are so many important issues and we have to speak about them. So very often if there is a choice what to talk about media issues, about something else, then our colleagues kind of turn to this second. And we can also see in the statistics that we ourselves, like we have had this direct content related to the media literacy. It's up to about 30 hours. Of course, we haven't counted together every minute when we talk about it, but this is 5 radio stations, 24/7, and for all this amount, this of course doesn't seem a lot, right? But at the same time, our people have had an opinion that it is very important to reflect what was topical in the current situation in the pandemic. And this is a topic about life and death. And this choice was made in favor of reflecting the COVID topics. And also now we understand that this topic is very important. At the same time, there are also other considerations which make our people to think differently. And one is that we look very closely to the fact that media literacy is related to education and ability to analyze the information. So therefore, we consider that we promote media literacy through our programs in which we educate people, and we have a lot of this content. This is about 7% of our total amount, and in hours, this is a lot. This is 2,200 hours per 9 months. So if we look from this angle, then the situation can be seen totally differently. Another thing which for us, the radio journalists, is that they see a correlation. If people listen to the high quality media, they are already literate in media. And so the problem is that those who are listening to the Latvian radio is not the audience to which we need to deliver this media literacy content, and they are not the ones who need it the most. And so the question is how we can reach the audience, which is not our direct audience, but the audience that gets the information through the social networking media sites and social networking sites. And then this is more complicated for us, for public media. We see a lot of work and we see that a large role is played by the commercial media who know how to create a lighter content, not such a content which is so um, kind of complicated related to the research and so on. This was from the Latvian radio. Okay, thank you. Let's turn to the Latvian television. So, how much is the media literacy included in the content of the television? Thank you. In my professional experience, I'm very close to media literacy. I have worked with media literacy in various media, and the diversity of media projects and ways how we try to address the audience are very uh, many things related to the research and analytics, the lies detector, and we also talk about the troll farms and how all this exists. And those are essential and important materials which prove what are the stumbling stones and how the media literacy works and what is the most important we need to think about. All of us are consuming media, journalists and everyone. But there are also different things we have to look how to reach the audience and how to talk about this problematics because let us be honest, um, we are running behind the problem because we don't know what is on the agenda of our government and what kind of decisions probably we will need to explain. So we are just chasing those things and if we look at lsm.lv, we can see some comicals and tests about media literacy also for children. A story where the wolf pretends to be a rabbit, and that means that we need to find for various ways, successful ways, and the way how to be attractive for the audience who are not prepared to go into very deep knowledge is the internet TV, which was organized by Latvian television that speaks to the younger audience, and it is very simply to perceive and to um, watch it. And if you think that this project is not about media literacy, it is. And we can speak about essential questions to the broad public, not to say why this is important and to try to explain some kind of notions and processes, but give them opportunity to look from a broader perspective through pictures and people they trust. And one of the problems in the context is that very often when we get to the media literacy, this is a very narrow area, and we need to tell it in a wider context and in the context of each um, unit of the information. Anytime when you think about something, talk about something, this is all the time question about this media literacy. We all work together for the public to be wiser and more harmonious and linked together. And so we have to look for the ways, and those are diverse ways. And I am inviting you not to stop and work together. And it is very important. In the context of Latvian television and the content which is intentionally made about this topic and also daily news and daily programs.
And this is the media which addresses all groups of society. Commercial media is targeting a particular group of community in order to offer it later to their advertisers. But whether media literacy finds also, can we find media literacy in also commercial content of media? And we are going to be talking with RETV representative. All the regions of Latvia are covered. And whether you have Mr. Vekteris, do you have also a space there for media literacy? Indeed, media literacy, we see it has come not long ago. And for us who have worked for 10 years or more already in the media field, we understand that we have not been talking for this all time about media literacy. Media literacy is included in our program, and we have realized the project by practically talking about what is media literacy, We have also debunked various ways how to influence people with tools of misinformation or technologies which have been developed now, which are developed now, and how it and the technology which can influence the thinking of the people. And so several years ago, when media literacy projects occurred in the media field, we addressed this, I would say, in a dry way, in a very simple way. Of course, it was interesting to the people who were involved in media literacy, and it was interesting for them to discuss with the experts, and it was probably interesting to them how misinformation works. They were taught and they discussed, but now we have developed this direction because we have understood that the community is not a uniform mass, it is different, and by producing our content we also need to ensure how a particular viewer of our content is going to perceive this information. And now we already have a media literacy program. It is also somewhat entertaining, and it talks about how easy it is to create fake news article and content, and how it influences the viewers. But we are one of the creators of the field of media. The media has to explain, as we were speaking, and we are also the ones who fight against misinformation. It is important to understand that how the content is being created which fights the misinformation. I think that channel Re TV is now covering the news all around Latvia 3 times a day, and we are one of the channels which fights the misinformation. We provide our perspective, we explain our perspective, and I will also admit that we are one of the last parts of this chain. We can promote, of course, critical thinking, but we also need a viewer. Well, we perceive our viewer as someone who can think critically. Well, I'd say that we are being manipulated, and that these tools are getting ever more sophisticated. We are slightly lagging behind all the time, behind the misinformation. And I believe that thanks to the support from the state, we have become stronger, more independent. It is also important for us not to contradict other channels. I think we should all be talking about how important it is for us to speak about media literacy and also to speak about it in schools. Thank you, Mr. Vekteris. Latgale is a special region also from the perspective of the media. Their viewers are special, and unfortunately on our eastern border we have programs not only from Latvia which broadcast, and even illegally we have programs from our eastern neighbor, and this is one of the most difficult problems. Also, the programs and channels banned by the council can be illegally viewed there. But in all this situation, there are stable and long-lasting local media, and I hope they're going to grow and develop. And the trustworthy content is the Divu Krastu radio. And the chairman of the board, Andrejs Trokša, is here to speak about his perspective. Hello, colleagues, and I'm very glad to hear your opinion, and I want to say yes, indeed. We live in a region where we have neighboring broadcasters, public broadcasters, who publish and broadcast their information to Latvia, but every honest media has a responsibility to take care of their viewers and listeners, and media literacy is in the interest of every media. First, 2 years ago, we had a program within the Society Integration Fund. We created a special program for facilitating the media literacy of our audience, and we were speaking about what is going on across the border. And there were three parts for this program. It was international events, human rights violations in Russia and Belarus. Also, we commented and interviewed experts who analyzed Russian interpretation of international events, considering the fact that our point of view had to be also heard. And Latvian media policy is also this. The third topic is the fake news. It was devoted to security on the internet. And here also we interviewed experts from Latvia. They were supposed to talk about these issues. It was before all the curfews and restrictions, and our journalists very often went to Riga and in presence interviewed the different experts. It was difficult, but it was manageable thanks to the funding. This also definitely improved the professionalism of our colleagues, and it was interesting to our listeners because it was first project like that in Latgale region. Everybody is fighting for their audience because for commercial media it is rather important. Yes, we have reached with the musical format the improvement and growth of our audience, but speaking about media literacy, we have to be consistently reliable. It is news, informative programs. If the listener is not going to believe the discussions and news, then I guess that media will suffer. That is, from my opinion, in brief. Thank you, Mr. Troksha. And how successfully the media literacy can be integrated in entertainment sphere. We are sometimes speaking about some light topics, and we want to entertain our audiences, and also with music, news, radio, SWH, how media literacy is integrated. Mr. Ilgvars Rukers, what about your audience? Hello once more to all. Of course, I do agree with what my colleagues also expressed. Commercial media have indeed a different role. Commercial media means that our main idea is to be in the market for profit. And I must say honestly that media literacy popularization, with that you cannot earn the profit. I would say that misinformation, actually, with misinformation you can earn way more than by providing some reliable information. Because misinformation is something you can laugh at, it is more sticky, it has some yellowish vibes to it. You want to share misinformation more, but the reality and critical information assessment and acknowledging of the reality is not always good. It's not as inviting. And for a radio station as we are, with entertainment sector rather large, that media literacy content would be too hard, and our audience would not evaluate it well. So we need to make sure that our viewer does not reconnect to some other station at the very time they hear some media literacy content. And we provide objective information broadcasting. We analyze and filter and the information which we receive. And here I want to talk about two forms of media literacy. One would be active and other one would be passive. Media literacy insurance is provision of objective news regularly on air. And thanks to our news service or by using some reliable resources. And I would also say that this is the content which we are creating knowingly in order to teach and train our listeners. And that content we have realized overall 5 projects since 2018, also with the support of various state institutions, also with within this project we have had they followed each other, and one of them was misinformation or fake news is abusive, is harassing. It was up to 18 various instances of fake news. For example, when the president castle has a Russian flag waving on top of it, or for example there was news that national theater actors are all made redundant and other things. And also the colleagues and journalists were explaining why it was fake news and how you can identify it, in what sources you can find contradictions, and why this fake news should not be passed on and shared with. And this were 2 seasons. We also received feedback, and actually we received feedback that people do not listen very carefully to this content. They only heard part of it. They actually started believing that those examples of fake news, this is what they started believing in. Not always, not always it is successful. And we also created the detector of fake news, and we also analyzed the news which are related to not only to Latvia but also internationally, and we debunked these news with official facts, etc. And thus also we have participated in media literacy development in our society, improvement in our society. There are projects not only in SWH and also SWH Plus. We have reached 600,000 listeners, which is 30% of the listeners in Latvia. And the only one thing more I want to stress, that this is actually very few. We believe that if you are skillful at anything, you need those hundreds and thousands of hours. Also for media literacy, you need 10,000 hours in order to be excellent at something. So if we are creating reports on fake news on Fridays, and we do it 3 to 7 minutes, and projects are mainly funded for up to 7 months, then it means that during the period of when it is not being funded and when the programs are ongoing, then it means that fake news are striving then. The media illiteracy is developing in geometrical progression. Thank you, Radio SWH, for their perspective on media literacy. And during the first day we heard Nauris Puntulis, Minister of Culture. He talked about how, what ratio of people it is important, media literacy. According to their data, it is a significant amount of significant population of Latvia. So I guess that maybe it also makes sense to include such content. And the state must take care about it. And what is the feedback in this question? Because if we meet people somewhere randomly, then we ask them what is media literacy. Maybe at best we would receive the response that it is something that differs from real information, but it is just this very narrow view on the topic. How do viewers react to the information which has been broadcasted on air, for example, in TV, if we are looking at the context of regions? In each region, maybe it is differently perceived, but Mr. Vekteris, do you receive the feedback of what you have done?
Talking about adding new innovations to this media literacy content and also inviting experts who are able to present this information in an interesting and exciting way, I can say that those are one of the most viewed, and we have the most viewers for this programs. And of course, it's not easy. We need to present the content which is dry in an interesting way. And media literacy questions are very interesting. They can be presented technologically and in a very formal way, or we can do it in a much more interesting way. Sometimes we keep thinking, can we present all this, because we discover so interesting things which later maybe to disinformator gives also some kind of tools. And talking about the forms, we don't see that somebody comments against us as a media who is sharing the truthful information. We more feel the link at the moments when we disseminate the content and news which is qualitatively created, and then we face comments on social networking sites, for example, about vaccines and so on. And this is an indicator to understand how easily it is to manipulate with the audience and how this audience thinks. And I'm not blaming representatives of the audience, because they are based on a certain amount of information they get somewhere and which dominates in their information bubble. So we, as strategically and public media, have to create this trust in us. And I believe that the larger challenge is for us is to be trusted and to use the content we create more and more. And it's not going to be a situation where there is no disinformation. Of course, it sounds better and more interesting and tasteful, and unfortunately it's like that. And we see that new media that enters the media space, the easiest way how to earn money is to go for clicks and follow the traffic and react with interesting videos, and that already balance on the verge of fake news, and this media is earning a good money. We who promote and who produce news, for us this is a different story. We prepare news by professional journalists who have studied at school, who haven't come from somewhere else, from other sector, and suddenly decide that today we'll start producing news. In this sector, it is very important to keep the possibility for professional journalists and editors to work in this sector, and this will be the fight against disinformation. And also in this link with the audience, we will feel that this trustworthiness of fake news will go lower, and unfortunately they are consumed a lot. About this outlook, we are unfortunately coming very close to the end of our discussion, although we just started. But I would like also to hear some more public media. So can you please comment a little bit more? So what would promote the increase of the media literacy content in your media? So do we need some training or some educative things? How do you see this development? And maybe you can give a roadmap. Mrs. Platkan, please. Adding to what I said already before, We are also sure that the programs which were about media literacy, they didn't have such a wide range of responses like other news programs which are more important for people. They speak about it, they write us back, and we have noticed that the largest misunderstanding, and this is also some basic thing of the media literacy, and we explain it, we write answers, and also on air, and we say that the opinion doesn't mean that this is opinion of the radio. When we interview somebody, people often think that this is opinion of the radio, and the radio is disseminating the wrong uh, things. But we are trying to explain that this is not our opinion, and so it means that we have to do a lot of things. And if we talk about going on air, um, we need to think how we also speak and what message we send on social media, because our audience on a linear air 800,000 listeners are 80,000, and they are pretty educated, and they understand those issues. But the ones we don't reach through this linear audience, we need to think how to reach them. And we have started a new series on creation podcasts, and we hope that we will be able to speak to the young people, and we have to use the opportunities provided by the new technologies and create a content in other platforms and somewhere else where people think that listening to the radio is old fashioned, so they are trying to look for the audience. We are trying to look for the audience somewhere else. And so, short and concise conclusion. So, from the viewpoint of the Latvian TV, what do you think about your tasks? Yes, the content has not only to be in the linear media, but everywhere, and how to adjust it. And this is a question of resources, and the question that everything has to be explanatory. It is important, but we have to also look for new forms and new ways how to talk to the audience, and younger people and older people, and maybe some entertaining formats and various social media about younger and older and other types of audience. And we also have to remember that none of the journalists or media representatives are gods. We are all are of us are learning all the time, and we have to remember it, and have this transparency. And a lot of variations about this topic is something that might and will achieve the audience and reach the audience, and we know how we consume things, and so we can adjust this principle. Okay, thank you very much to the participants of the discussions, Ingemārs Ilvars Rukers, Andres Trokša, Una Klapkalna, Anna Platpir, and Ingmārs Vekters. So we understand that we can give and provide a great content. So thank you very much, and see you on air.